Hi, this is Paul. This painting is titled Lost Spring. I think you'll see why shortly. It's a painting of daffodils in a glass bottle. We start with a 12-inch by 12-inch aluminum composite panel, which has been primed with Rust-Oleum. And there's no drawing, so I'm just going in straight with a brush with some burnt umber and establishing the location of the elements. Having done that, the background is being painted, and the shadows, such as they are, it's mostly black or very close to black. It's actually a cooler black on the left and a warmer black on the right, although that does not show on the video, so it's a subtlety that's not picked up by the camera. There's a reason why I paint the background first. I like to, it feels like an accomplishment to get something done. But primarily it's to create a boundary between the background and the object, which is going to be wet, and this allows me to properly create soft and hard edges between the objects and the background. What's happening here is using a small brush, I'm placing the darker parts of the flower bell. These are usually adjacent to the background or next to voids within the flower bell. The darker colors next to the black usually need soft edges, and this adds to the illusion of three-dimensionality of the flower bell. So it's about form. Here's where a light color is being applied. This represents a hard edge. It's parts of the flower bell that have been hit by light. This will have a hard edge against the background. While there is not much going on in the painting, and in fact the whole clip is not much going on, I'll tell you about the title and the composition. So it's called Lost Spring. I cut daffodils in March and put them in a bottle and added some water and arranged them in my shadow box as a still life ready to paint, and then something happened, and it took 2 months for me to get back to this painting. And when I did, I found that the flowers all had wilted and dried and somehow retained their beauty, and I thought it was sort of a poignant composition. This is a good example of a painting going through its ugly stage. This happens to almost every painting. You begin to place the colors and they start looking wrong. You can't tell what you're painting necessarily. You've got not enough of the panel covered in paint, and so this is the ugly stage. You have to push through it. You have to keep going with your plan. You have to keep placing accurate color, and it will eventually come together. It will be what you planned if you just ignore the terrible ugly stage and keep going. I'm only going to go through the first daffodil bell at this excruciating speed. The other two we'll skip over probably. But just trying to illustrate here how the as you get to the point where you cover the panel completely and add all the colors and values that you need, it does actually start to resemble the intended subject. And here is as the crown of the flower is being placed, it starts to look somewhat like a daffodil. So you have to stick with it. That's about it for the first daffodil. And we're going to skip over the second one and go to the third one. The third one's a little bit more interesting. It's more in the shadow. It's got darker values. It has a more three-dimensional form at the end. These are really just a series of greys that are very slightly tinted with yellow, although it does look like a dark yellow. This is the part where the stems are being painted. So what's happening here is that the right hand edge of most of the stems is being given a soft edge, darker color to match the background. There's also some shadows between the stems, where one is obscuring the other. That's being applied. It's a little hard to see because the stems actually have the coloration that very closely matches the priming of the panel. So that's unfortunate. But you can sort of see there are lighter and darker sections of the stems that's being painted now. This is mostly done with a very small rigger brush, just to get the long straight lines. It's the easiest brush to use to create a straight line. There you can see sort of long sweeping motions making with the brush now and again that is doing that. Mostly it's dragging the brush along the brown color of the stem and the black in the background, which creates the soft edge. If you drag the brush 2-3 times over that, it definitely softens nicely. That shadow on the rightmost stem is causing me problems because I keep managing to touch it with the brush and lay down the wrong color. I have to keep correcting it. It's just clumsy. Most of the fine work, fiddling that's going on right now is again about edges. So it's just softening the darker parts against the background. This is the final daffodil stem being painted. This one was interesting because it it has kinks in the stem, which I found very reminiscent of the way daffodil stalks behave. It adds some visual interest and sort of probably the hardest geometric element of the painting, and the lightest parts of the stems. A little bit more fiddling with the soft edges down the bottom, and next it's going to focus on the bottle. There we go. So there's some around the bottle neck. The glass distorts the appearance of the stem. So there's some adjustments going on right now where I put in the wrong color. This is the glass itself, the highlights. The light does sort of bounce off the edges around the neck. It's being painted with some grey lines and some white dots. Here you go. White dots should just about create the illusion of some convincing glass. There's that edge on the right which has a grey with a touch of blue in it, which will go in next. There it goes. And this will complete the glass work. Something I learned is that when you think you're done, you're not. So it's often helpful to go in and add some finishing touches here and there. There's always a lot of little aspects that can be cleaned up or tweaked. So this final stage is really just going in and making the hard edges harder and the soft edges softer, and adding in a few surface details. The petals of the daffodil, when they dry, they get sort of a little crinkly. They have a lot more texture than the fresh ones do. So I'm trying to capture that with a few strategic brush strokes to give the illusion that they are dry. Back to the stem. This kind of finishing work is not really obvious to the viewer, but it was to me. There were several pieces of edge work and detail work here that were missing or just clumsy, so this is a clean-up. And that's enough. So here's the completed piece. Thank you for watching.